In the spirit of Kujichagulia, self-determination, the Lincoln Park Sustainable Living Community Podcast is the business and art of creative placemaking in the historic Lincoln Park community in the city of Newark, New Jersey. This podcast was created by Lincoln Park Coast Cultural District, nonprofit, an organization founded and led by Black, Indigenous people of color since inception. You are now listening to the Lincoln Park Sustainable Living Community Podcast, hosted by Executive Director Anthony Smith, presented by Verizon, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, United Airlines, Valley National Bank, Provident Bank, and with the grant support from the City of Newark Creative Catalyst Fund.
Welcome to the Lincoln Park Sustainable Living Community Podcast. I am your host, Anthony Smith, the Executive Director of Lincoln Park Coast Cultural District, based in the great city of Newark, New Jersey. Thank you all that are listening to our new podcast. As the first organization to launch a podcast dedicated to diverse voices and creative placemaking, we could not be more pleased to have all of our listeners along for the journey. This is about you, the city of Newark, the movers and shakers that keep moving forward. Despite economic downturns, pandemics, racial unrest, we keep moving forward. It's no wonder we're nicknamed Brick City. With each generation, we grow tougher and stronger. As a native son of this great city, and in a spirit of servant leadership, it gives me great pleasure. No, it's an honor to be able to build it up brick by brick as a physical community developer. Since 2002, we brought over 100 families back to the historical Lincoln Park community. As you may have learned from episode 1, it wasn't easy. There were many challenges. Through it all, we persevered. As BIPOC community developers since inception, Lincoln Park Coast Cultural District has always approached equitable development through our lens of inclusiveness and diversity since its charrette in 1999. Community planning development is defined as a town or neighborhood planning and design in which diverse community members, often termed stakeholders, contribute toward formulation of the goals, objectives, and planning per Wikipedia. For Lincoln Park Coast Cultural District, it's a bottom-up, forward-thinking approach to how we address the issues and bring people together in community building, Old Newark and New Newark. The role and contribution of the arts is invaluable in this bottom-up approach, as it represents the opportunity for disenfranchised members of our community to participate and contribute. Yet, Lincoln Park Coast Cultural District has experienced what so many other BIPOC developers have: the dearth of investment of capital into Black real estate developers. The case can be made that this trend correlates to the lack of equitable access to the development industry. A 2019 study by Harvard Business School and Abella Research identified only 17 women-owned and 21 minority-owned real estate investment firms among the total universe of 967 firms listed in the Preqin database, less than 5% of the industry. The percentage of real estate assets under the management is even lower, with women and minorities representing about 0.8% and 1.2% respectively of the industry's total. This is the narrative of DWB, Developing While Black. In this episode, we will delve into the successes, challenges, and unique prism through which Black developers approach community economic development. Today, my guests are not only experts in equitable development, they are the living embodiment of what it means to persevere and thrive as Black developers. We talk about how access to capital allows Newark-based Black-owned development firms to take advantage of the multi-billion-dollar revitalization activity in Newark, New Jersey. I hope you find my conversation with today's guest about the unique perspectives as informative and resourceful as I do. My first guest today is Marjorie Perry, the founder of MZM Construction. Marjorie Perry is a lifelong resident of Newark, New Jersey. She is the president and CEO of MZM Construction and Management Company, Inc. She is widely recognized as an innovator, public speaker, writer, and role model for women and minorities in businesses. Trained as an educator with a BA from King College, Perry's path in teaching was diverted after she was caught in a series of layoffs in the Newark public school system. She went on to work for corporate giants like 3M, Johnson & Johnson, United Airlines, and ultimately cultivating a burgeoning vision for life as a passionate self-made entrepreneur. Resourceful and open to all possibilities, it wasn't long before she and two partners founded MZM Construction and Management. Soon after, she became sole principal of the company, which has sustained a multi-million-dollar bottom line for the last 24 years. She has received numerous awards and recognitions, including being inducted into New Jersey's premier business publication, New Jersey Biz 2011 Business of the Year, New Jersey Business Hall of Fame, in 2012 Small Business of the Year, 2012 Best 50 Women in Business, and one of the top 25 entrepreneurs in New Jersey. Most recently, she was selected by Goldman Sachs and Bloomberg in 2015 as one of the top 15 businesses in the country to watch in the future with major growth within the next 5 years. To top it off, she was selected to receive the prestigious 2018 New Jersey Biz Lifetime Achievement Award, which has only been presented to 3 other New Jersey businesswomen over the years. She is also a graduate of Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Initiative. Let's welcome the powerhouse entrepreneur, developer, and native Newarker, Marjorie Perry.
Thank you, Anthony. That was such a lovely introduction. So appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for having me and inviting me to come on your show.
Well, we're excited to have you, Marjorie, on this show. You've been in a community, tilling the soil and making things happen for so long, actually breaking a lot of glass ceilings, to open the doors for other developers to come along the way. And so, this is just a great opportunity for Lincoln Park and also for others who haven't heard about Marjorie Perry to really learn a little bit more about what you've done and what it's taken for you to get to where you are today.
Yes. As you know, I'm a little bit older. So when my journey started, there was no affirmative action. There was no, real push for the next level, but it was coming online in the late 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And so I happened to be one of the few people of color, I'll say that because there was men and women, who saw that as a potential opportunity to go to the next level. And we didn't have a lot of mentors or a lot of people really understood that. Affirmative action can be very disjointed if you don't know how to use it wisely or you don't educate it, because it's great to be Black in America, but if you don't have the substance behind it when the opportunity arises, it could be a colossal failure. So it's just so powerful now that there are so many programs and the protests that we've had over the last year and a half to really hear our Black voices out there and how much talent is out there, that I'm just thrilled to have been able to start it. And golly, just to see who's going to come after me or alongside of me to take it to the next level is just amazing to see. So I'm honored that I was able to hang in there and do the determination to go to whatever level that is. But oh my gosh, so I'm honored about that.
Well, can you give us can you unpack this a little bit more for us about your roots, in Newark, and talk about the old days and, how you were inspired and, as you said, there were a few minorities engaged, but I'm sure it was a time that it was very tough?
Sure. So, I'm really actually a 50s baby. And so at the time when I was growing up, everybody was really looking to be a teacher or a nurse, something in that field. Entrepreneurship or building wealth just wasn't a big conversation in this area. I grew up in 322 Hunterdon Street, right off of Springfield Avenue. And then we moved over to South 7th Street between 11th and 12th Avenue for my rest of my grammar school years and go to high school at Barringer High School in Newark. So I've known nothing else. But one of the things about when we moved over to South 7th Street, Mayor King Gibson, he was running for the first time. He was going to be the first African-American mayor for our city. And my mother was just enthralled with the political landscape during that time to help this gentleman win, because it was very much known before that our Italian community was really running the city of Newark during that time. So I had a taste of meeting this African-American man who had an engineering degree from Rutgers, and he was so inspirational when he talked. I was just very excited about, wow, he was able to kind of break through the barriers. We're only limited to, the Central Ward or the West Ward or the South Ward. And I said, one day, I'll be able to do a little bit more on that. And then the other thing, back in my day, you had mostly Jewish teachers in our grammar schools and high schools teaching. And I was fortunate enough that a couple of my teachers just saw something in me that would take me and help me to be exposed to like concerts in the city and to travel to their homes, Livingston, Short Hills, etc. And you just don't even realize how important that exposure is at the time if you're coming back to your project apartment, which was 4 rooms, and you have 3 siblings and 2 parents in it. But you didn't know that you were living 2 cultural worlds at the time. So at the end of the day, where I was just sitting there saying, okay, one day, maybe I can buy a house in Short Hills. And then I met him, because I could see both worlds, because we were so cramped all the time when I'd come back home. And when I go to their home, I'd have my own room and, my own rest bathroom. That was a big deal when you're like 10, 11 years old. So that's kind of where my vision started building. My parents were not educated. My mom finally finished her GED at Essex County College and then went on to get her LPN from Essex County College when the school opened in the 70s, which we were really proud of her for that. And so we didn't have a lot of mentorship to say, hey, you can be all that you can be. My parents were saying, listen, just finish high school and life will be good. I said, no, I want a little bit more. I think I can do more than just be a secretary. So one of my teachers was fortunate enough to take me to Howard Savings Bank. I know you're probably a little too young.
No, I remember that, the Passbook Savings.
Remember that bank? Okay. And she took me downtown Newark, Broad Market, and helped me to fill out the application to apply for my first college loan.
Wow.
And I got it. That's how I got my first college loan, because my parents said they didn't have any money to help me go to college. I need to just go to get a job, go down to Belltown, and be happy. So long story short, got my first college loan, got in a program called the EOP program, because I was basically a C student because I always had to work part-time. I was not an A student. I was a C student. But I was determined to get my degree because I knew education was key, because that's what my teachers kept telling me. So I did it in 4 years. I worked at night 3 to 11 at a hospital called Presbyterian Hospital. And I was an inhalation therapist. And then I decided I wanted to be an anesthesiologist because I had moved my way up to the cardiac wing. And I was just fascinated about going into the OR when I was a young person, and I wanted to go to medical school. My parents said, no, you can't go to medical school because we have no money to support you. And as you know, you can't work part-time and go to medical school. You have to let that go and have some financial support. And I leave this little bit of tidbit that, take the shot anyway. If I had known that back then, I would have taken the shot. And somehow the money would have come, the resources would have come, but I was so terrified that I wouldn't make it because of money. Money was going to hold me back from finishing medical school. And then that brings us up to me pivoting, becoming a physical education teacher because I had taken all my science classes, organic, inorganic chemistry, etc. Became a phys ed teacher, laid off, and I decided I still had this dream to live at a next level. Started working in corporate America, as you described, 3M, Johnson & Johnson, finishing up at United Airlines because I had developed to be a top sales and marketing person. Sat next to Ralph Lauren on one of my flights because we're trying to get him to decide to come off of Pan Am and TWA and get on a United flight because back in the 80s, United was only domestic. They did not do international flights. So he used to always say to me, Marge, I think you have what it takes to have your own business. You know, you can get your raise every year, but you will never, ever, ever build wealth working for someone else. I did not know what this man was talking about during the time. I said, well, I hear you, Sarah. Fine, but, you know, I have my job, I have my travel benefits, and my health insurance. Yeah. But they're going to offer you a promotion because you're that good, and they're only going to give you a 3% raise. Sure enough, about maybe 3 years in, I had brought all this revenue in for the New York market, and they offered me a big job because headquarters was in Chicago for me to go to Chicago. Well, guess what? A 3% raise. I said, no, I'm not going to Chicago. It's so cold out there. It's cold enough here, but I'm like, no, I'm certainly not going out there to do anything. So I quit. I walked away and said, I'm going to go for it. So I drove taxi cabs. I don't know if you remember this company called Nylax, which was right on, I think that was Clinton Avenue. It was the first African-American limousine company, so I drove cars at night. I worked at Macy's and Lord & Taylor for part-time revenue, why I started to build my business with my two partners at the time. And then in 97, they couldn't handle entrepreneurship because our first project was NJPAC. They thought that we got our first $50,000. We had hit the payload. I said, no, that's gross. So we may have $2 left over, so I don't. We're not going to off of $50,000, three of us. So no. So they wanted out. Gave them their money back, and the rest is what the journey has been for the last 24 years.
Wow, that is such a. I didn't know that story about you, Marge. I love that.
Yes.
Wait. You made it. You believed in your vision and you had a passion and you made it work. And you know that sometimes you have to do some things along the way to get to where you want to go. And so.
And it's scary. And it's scary. Yeah. You know, you and I both know it can be very, very scary. And I was scared because, again, you don't have anybody in your family who can talk you through it. You got to figure it out.
Yeah. I mean, this is very relatable for a lot of people who are navigating through the big pivot during this COVID. There's no shame in honest work.
Yes.
It really isn't.
Right.
You know, you know, I was looking at some of the things I want to chat with you about, because you were trained as an educator at King University and you got caught up in a series of layoffs, and now that we're doing, a lot of people are going through a lot of this now through COVID. And your story about how you pivot and you just, you know, you did the work that you had to do, but you stayed the course, slow and steady, is how you got there. And it took passion. And, you know, as a self-made entrepreneur, that's why you're here today. And your story is transferable to what everyone is going through right now. And, you know, just because we're going through this dual pandemic of the social unrest and also COVID, but you can still keep your eyes on the prize. It may have to take a different economics.
And economics.
Yes.
And Anthony. And all three. We're
all
going
three.
through all three at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. So actually, that's three pandemics.
That's three pandemics. In our community, that's three pandemics for sure.
Yeah. Well, today we're focusing on the narrative of developing while Black. In this episode, we want to delve into the successes, challenges, and unique prism through which Black developers approach community building. In 2019, a study by Harvard Business School and the Bella Research identified only 17 women-owned and only 21 minority-owned real estate investment firms among the total universe of 967 firms listed in their database. The percentage of real estate assets under management is even lower, with women minorities representing 0.8% and 1.2% respectively of the industry total. From your purview of the industry as a Black woman, how has it changed or remained the same?
Well, I'm going to give you a two-part answer to that. The first part is that we were moving forward, okay? Mm-hmm. I think COVID and this economic downturn is going to move us back. I'm hoping it's only 2 or 3 steps because we're the least funded on anything. Mm-hmm. That's the issue for us, is funding and access to capital. So in order to do development or to do any major project, it's all about the capital. So if you have a country that's now under severe duress because they're shutting things down every other week because of leadership at the top that didn't just say, okay, everybody just pause, stop, let's get through this and move on. Now we're looking at almost a year of shutting down businesses. And the other study is that you have a lot of entrepreneurs or who want to be in a development and building game and don't understand the long lead time from the beginning of a project to the end. That's before this minimum 18 months. Minimum. Getting approvals, getting the architecturals, doing the design, and I'm doing that in the backward order because it's design, then the architecturals, and then getting the approvals. So that took almost 18 months when you can kind of look at a project. And when you even finish the project, you're not going into the black right away because you spent so much money to get it done. That's a developer. So you're either deep pockets and you have a lot of investors because that's what your bigger boys do. They have investors. So they're using, hey, listen, I need to raise $20 million to do this particular project. We might go in and want to do like maybe a $600,000 or $700,000 project. Imagine the hit on them automatically hits below.
Yeah.
So it's a two-part aspirational issue. And even if you have funds that are out there for minority and women-owned business, sometimes they don't have the business acumen. And guess what was missing? Because I forgot to tell you, I graduated Harvard yesterday.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I was the class speaker. But I say that to say, being in that room with private equity guys, who one of them had $13 billion in assets.
Wow.
13 billion. One of my classmates.
Wow.
But I listened to the conversation, so here's the other part for our community and for building Wild Black. We're not in the room to understand what they're even looking for if you want to go to get the investment dollars. And he invests in real estate heavily, worldwide.
Wow.
But he and I are sitting and chatting and talking and this stuff. Because that's the other thing that we need is those relationships that believe in you, that will say, hey, you know what, Marge, I'm going to put $5 million in your company. But I want to see this, and that. So how great are we in finance and understanding what they need to see? Do we know the right investment banker to hire to help us to talk to this guy that has $13 billion worth of assets? Imagine that.
Wow.
And I'm sitting on the phone teasing him about, what are you doing? Or I have to push back on him when he gets a little crazy. Hey, Aaron, stop it. I'm good. Okay, Marge, okay. But that's a relationship that they trust.
Yeah.
Because not many people get inside their small sphere of relationship. Networking and character building is 1 and 2, and the other 2 builders is experience and education. And we got to have all 4 of those pillars if we're going to continue to build while being Black. So I just wanted to kind of put that out. I know that's kind of
no. I appreciate.
Answer.
No. That was spot on point. It was spot on point. I mean, you totally understand that BIPOC developers need to build a muscle and know-how
Yeah.
and having the capacity. And I mean, I was listening to you and thinking about my own personal relationship here at Lincoln Park and saying, wow, you have to have all those in place. And some of it was a learning curve. And sometimes you're learning as you're going, and making these decisions
Yeah.
based upon the knowledge that you have. And it's not for the fair at heart. You have to be in it for the long haul because and have a commitment and a passion for what you're doing, particularly, what we're doing around community economic development. So I appreciate you unpacking all of that because that's very important. I want to let's talk about MZM Construction. Tell us more about your company, some of your notable projects, and some of the challenges you had to overcome, and maybe some of your future endeavors.
Sure. MZM, I have 15 employees. I do heavy commercial building. In fact, I'm doing 505 Clinton. All that work that you see when you go up Clinton Avenue is my work. So I decided to, delve into doing a major Newark project. I've done NJPAC. I've done Giant Stadium. I'm currently on the new Newark Conrack project, the Terminal 1 that's coming into the city. I've done Kennedy Airport, LaGuardia Airport. I've done beach replenishment. That means putting sand back on the beach for any beach that you go to. Atlantic City, Long Beach Island, Rhode Island, Connecticut, Boston. And we put thousands and thousands of cubic tons of sand back on the beach. Very fortunate to have worked on the Goldman Sachs project in Jersey City. Golly, I forgot all these projects I've worked on. Let's see, what else? We're currently, for the last 4 years, been working at Picatinny, which is a great place to work. So we're building general headquarters, et cetera, up there. So that's a real big lift for us. And the future endeavor is to now help build out the new Terminal 1 project, which is a $2 billion project that's coming into Newark. Oh, and by the way, I do a lot of work for Port Authority, the road and curbs and sidewalk construction. We're just finishing a major project for them right now in Port Newark.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yes, we're just finishing that hopefully Monday or Tuesday. Thank the Lord. I can't wait to be done with that one because that's been a little bit challenging for us. What are the challenges? Under-resourced, underfunded, minimized, taken for granted, not getting all the information that you need so that you're not blindsided by a new idea, or come to you at the 9th hour and say, oh, can you do this? And they dare you to say you can't. Those have been the severe challenges that have come up for me. Not too long ago, you had somebody who became jealous and angry because I'm Black in America, and why do you have this contract? So they called the Labor Department on me and made up a story. And then you're pulled out of whatever to try to mitigate that. Yeah, well, I can taunt you just because, and say it out loud. We did a wonderful project for the water treatment plant right down by Howard University, and I was the lead, $10 million project, and I was the only African American in the room, and I came in, nobody would acknowledge me. I'm the boss, actually. I'm the boss. So I'm sitting there. I decided to pull my peanuts out and just let them go around the room because they want to act like I'm not even in the room. They finally come to me, and they said, who are you? I said, I'm Marjorie Perry, MZM. You're Marjorie Perry, MZM? Oh, okay. We're so sorry that we ignored you. Okay, no problem. I'll just take a little bit of extra time when I have to write your check out. So I
love it.
I mean, you cannot believe the lack of respect as you start to move up the chain. You just cannot believe how they want to undermine or pull the sheet from underneath you because, again, there's sometimes some of us went out too fast and failed, and they decide all people of color are the same. So I always have to go in first and prove myself. Second, I'm smart enough. And third, I can execute. Yeah. And don't need your help to do any of those things. And it is daunting to always be under the gun to say, yes, I'm qualified. Yes, I'm qualified. Yes, I'm capable. Yes, I have the financial resources to do what I have to do. So it is really, really, really daunting and amazing to have those issues come at you all the time, and very, very stressful. I call it chronic stress fatigue for sure. What kept me going?
Yeah.
I will say, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I can hold off.
Okay. What kept me going? I'm from Newark. One of the skills that we have, and if you cultivate and develop, we know how to survive.
Resilience.
We know we have the resiliency to survive and make something out of nothing. My grandmother could make a stew out of just leftovers. And it would be the best tasting stew on the planet. Because sometimes you have a lot of money or resources back in the day. But boy, you'd never know it when you dip your bread in there and you're just like, oh, Grandma, this is the best thing ever. Because we learn how to survive. So we're bicultural when it comes to that.
Yeah.
So, hey, you wanna underestimate me? Underestimate me. But I wouldn't do it if I were you, because I know how to pivot and survive. Now, surviving, it can burn you out, so you want to get to thriving. And then that's where the entrepreneurial gap can kind of get cloudy, to get past surviving to thriving. So those are the three pillars to my story.
Well, I appreciate that. Telling a story about your grandmother, when the whole term sustainability came out, I was like, well, Black people have been sustainable all their lives. We've been making things happen. We've always had to be sustainable.
That's true. I know. I can listen. Give me some Spam and some crackers. I'm good.
Early on, and as you were unpacking everything in this discussion, you talked about the Giant Stadium and NJ-PAC. How does MZM get into Giant Stadium? Was that just an RFP that you applied for? Like, how did that happen for you?
Well, this is where the affirmative action worked really well. I was one of the most qualified at the time to go into a Giant Stadium and be able to stand on my own. That's how I got to Giant Stadium, because diversity started getting very, very loud, as you know, in the 90s and the 2000s. Listen, you've got people of color that need jobs. Mm-hmm. So, again, I was good at networking, so I knew how to do that from my sales and marketing day. Mm-hmm. So I made sure that I was able to do a presentation or a PowerPoint and go in and have a 5-minute elevator speech so that I could bid on the work. Sometimes you couldn't bid on the work, but what they would do, like, say, for instance, I would do something called general conditions. That might be $4 million because the main package is $18 million. Well, again, you don't have the capital to do that. So I don't want to bite off more than I can chew. They said, well, Marge, why don't you do the general conditions? Bring us 30 guys, and it's all yours. And that's what I did. That's how I was able to do Giant Stadium.
Wow, that's cool. You worked at NJ-PAC, and I remember with NJ-PAC, Gail Thompson was there, and one of my former board chair, Siree Morris with Aventis.
Siree Morris, and she's the one that was my mentor, actually. Yes, she was my mentor. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah. What was your role at NJ-PAC when you worked at NJ-PAC? On that project?
I did all the underground utilities, excavation, utilities, curbs, and sidewalks. I started out in the earth sector. Mm-hmm. So all the excavation, all the curbs and sidewalks, that's what I did. Mm-hmm.
So they had three dynamic sisters.
And landscaping.
So they had three dynamic sisters down at NJ-PAC. Gail Thompson, Teresa
Well,
Marshall.
I was getting started now, so I was kind of looking up to the two of them, Gail as the architect, of course, one of the architects of record, and Teresa Marshall with Turner Construction. But they were instrumental, as well as Gus Henningberg.
Gus Henningberg, that's right.
Getting me in there.
Yeah.
Right. He was overseeing that project for local businesses and local individuals to work on the NJ-PAC project. Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's a great story. I see Teresa all the time, but I get the chance to talk with Gail because I think she's living in Africa now. But she's a dynamic woman. I want to know: are there any tips, tools, or mantras, or executive development resources or recommendations for other Black people or people of color, women of color that are entering into the world of commercial development that you want to offer up?
I got to tell you, what you did not mention is that when I first started, I was really a neophyte in the construction world. So I went back to NJIT to not one, work on my civil engineer degree requirements, and two, I got my MBA to understand the financial portion. See, it's one thing to have the desire to want to do it. It's a second thing to hear the mayor say, listen, we want more developers in Newark. But it's the third thing is to have the knowledge and the experience to be successful. Mm-hmm. Those are my tidbits. Have the dream, understand your strengths and weaknesses, really get folks maybe that don't look like you or sound like you around you as your quasi-qua advisory board to really guide you down this road. Mm-hmm. And next, you've got to get the education to support it. You just have to. Mm-hmm. So networking, education, okay? Because if you don't know the numbers or you can't do the takeoff or you're a developer and you really don't know the cost adjustment between now for net value and future value, don't get into the development game because it's not a money-making game for most people starting out in development. Most developers started out buying a couple of buildings and then they kept growing and then they kept growing. See, people don't see that. They just see the development. Mm-hmm. It takes time to get to be a really strong developer at the next level because it's not a turnaround payout situation. So if you really looked at a private equity person, normally if you invest, it takes 5 years for that money to come back to you.
Yes.
5 years.
So as they say, you have to have some patient capital to know that you're not going to get it.
Patient capital on the development side.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, this has been such a great conversation with you. You have to definitely come back. I want to try to get you, Gail, and Teresa on a conversation together on one of these podcasts because I'm sure all three of you collectively together could really would have a lot to share. But if someone wanted to get in touch with you, Marjorie, and learn more about MZM Construction, how would they do that?
Our website is www.mzmcc.com. My personal email is mperry@mzmcc.com. You can find me on Twitter, Marjorie_Perry, LinkedIn, Marjorie_Perry, and I think Twitter. I think you can find me on. So just put in Marjorie Perry and I'll pop up, and you can read about me, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and as well as the website. You can always reach out to me.
Well, thank you so much for taking time out to have this conversation. I think this is going to be so valuable to all of our listeners.
Yes. Oh, well, I hope so, Anthony. You know, I'm a Newark girl. Blue and blue forever.
Absolutely. Yep.
Thank you so much for having me, you and your team. I really appreciate it, Anthony. I really do.
Marjorie Perry, a dreamer and a doer. She left us with a few pearls of wisdom on how to be successful in the development game. 1, your GPA does not determine intelligence, capacity, or your station in life. There may be other factors such as working your way through school that helps to define your path. Number 2, entrepreneurship is a pathway to wealth. She got that pearl of wisdom from the great Ralph Lauren that told her that she needed to really follow her dreams. Number 3, we need to be in the room to understand how to get investment dollars and capacity to manage. Number 4, affirmative action may get you to the table, but your experience, capabilities, and reputation helps you to secure the bag. And 5, networking. Build your network. That becomes your sphere of influence. My next guest also has a unique perspective of viewing development in Black communities through the lens of a native Newarker. He is a millennial wonder kid who is making moves and impacting his city, our city. Siree Morris is the founder of MCI Construction and Property Management and co-founder of Ascension Partners. Siree Morris graduated from Rutgers University in 2005 with a degree in civil engineering. He then worked for Edgewood Properties as a site design civil engineer. Among his list of titles, Mr. Morris surveys, grades, and designs storm sewer systems, utilities, and landscaping. He has designed for clients such as Walgreens, Barnes & Noble, Costco, Pathmark, Wegmans, Bed Bath & Beyond, Lowe's, the Home Depot, Wachovia, Chase Bank, and Stop and Shop. While designing various developments, Siree began to understand the importance of sustaining the marketability of a development through adequate property management and quality construction. In a targeted effort to create a vertical integrated firm, he strategically incorporated MCI Construction Services, LLC, to provide general contracting services and to self-build his own developments. Next, he incorporated MCI Property Management to manage his portfolio of properties. Lastly, Mr. Morris co-founded a real estate development firm, Ascension Partners, to acquire multifamily housing and commercial real estate development. Due to success of his real estate portfolio, Siree has been able to venture into other business industries. Most recently, he and his wife, Ayana, are the owners of Newark Moonlight Cinema, New Jersey's first Black-owned drive-in movie theater. Welcome to our Lincoln Park Sustainable Living Community Podcast, budding real estate development mogul, Siree Morris. Welcome, Siree. Welcome, Siree.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. So, thank you for taking some time out to talk about the work that you've done and the work that you're doing in Newark. I would have never known while I was working at City Hall, and working with Miss Maddie. Is Miss Maddie, right? Your grandmother?
Mazarine.
Miss Mazarine Morris. Yes, Miss Mazarine. She was our gatekeeper.
Yeah.
She was the gatekeeper right there in the front for all the council. And it was great to just sit down and chat with her, talk about Newark and, God bless her. She kept us all in line while we was working on the council.
Yeah, nah, absolutely, man. If anybody know my grandmother, she don't take no smack. She's fair, but she's very, very stern and assertive. So I already know how she was holding it down there in City Hall with y'all. But she always spoke, very highly of everybody like yourself and some of the other people she worked with, man. So, y'all probably used to see me running around as a little kid collecting money, for my little candies and stuff like that. But, it's all coming full circle now,
Absolutely. I'm just a little bit older than you, but can you tell me a little bit more about what it was like for you coming up during that era in Newark?
I would say, it was the best of times, you know what I'm saying? And then we had some other issues too, you know what I mean? I was born in 82, so, I was an 80s baby. We all know, kind of what happened in the 80s and going into the 90s and stuff. But growing up as a child, it was pretty cool. My early childhood memories are just a lot of cookouts, a lot of family gatherings. Up until I probably was 10, I thought funerals was parties, because, after we may have somebody, who passed, man, it'd be like the greatest party ever. So I'm usually used to run around with my cousins, my friends, be having a good time, be laughing. So, the early parts of my childhood was filled with lots of joy, lots of fun, lots of family. And, as I got older, and started to see, you know, a little more about what's going on in the world. You know, I started seeing, you know, the community that I actually lived in, you know, was surrounded by, you know, just crime, a lot of drugs, a lot of other illegal activities. But, you know, the community that I grew up in, the one thing I can say that was very, very strong and was stuck with me was that they always wanted, no matter what they may be into, the adults, they always wanted the kids to go to school, go to college, and always make the best of themselves. So, you know, I was always pushed towards, you know, athletics. You know, I played ball. I excelled at basketball. I played ball multiple times a day, every day. So, you know, everybody knew me as the basketball kid. And everybody from, you know, guys on the corner to, you know, women might be walking around and just other people doing illegal activities. They always say, listen, kid, you know, just play ball. You know, we'll get you sneakers. We'll give you a little money, put in your pocket. But you have a shot to get out of here. And the community wrapped themselves around me, and it was a large part on them kind of determining the negative influences from me that I was able to go through college. I mean, go through high school, excel in high school, get to college, still get support from my community while I was in college. So it's not that I owe them for wrapping their arms around me, but you know, they gave a sense of community to myself that I'm trying to utilize now to give back, you know, with my real estate development.
Yeah, I mean, you know, so that takes us back to your grandmother, because it was people like your grandmother and others in our community that wrapped their arms around us, you know, to make sure that that we were protected from whatever was going on and that we had a chance to get out. So that's what's up. Today we are focusing on DWB, Developing While Black, and the successes, challenges, and unique prism through which Black developers approach community building. What's your approach to physical community development?
I think, you know, my approach is providing equity to those who don't have it, right? You know, myself, I've been fortunate enough to, you know, work for some large real estate developers. I was able to, you know, work as a civil engineer to kind of understand aspects of real estate that I don't think many people get a chance to, and that's like site design, land development, right? But more importantly, I was able to extract the information and knowledge and bring it back and apply it to my community. And with me being able to do that, and starting out just kind of investing properties as a way of giving back, I noticed that in order to truly give back, you know, we have to change the circumstances, you know, in our community. So the one thing in my investment and how I look at the portfolio is I like to target specific areas, you know, in the community that are not in the downtown, that are the troubled areas, because I believe that if we can provide people with quality housing, you know, give them opportunities to work, to help them gain income in their properties, buy properties, own properties in our community, have myself own properties, and then put people in position to own properties together, I think that that's the way that, you know, we can have an overall impact in taking back our communities. And I just utilize real estate as that medium for me to transfer my knowledge and some of my wealth to others so that I can empower them to do the same.
That's great. You know, and we need more of that, because we have to pay it forward, you know, and to make sure that we're not waiting for someone to, you know, build out our community. We're building our own community and building our own wealth in our community. Can you, you know, I want to know more about MCI Construction and Property Management. Can you tell me a little bit more about that, and then maybe go into some of your notable projects that you worked on?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. So MCI Property Management and Construction is actually two companies. They're both mine. I own 100%. I just combined them because it just made sense. So the company is a real estate development company. We have a simple mission. That's to buy distressed property or land and build affordable housing, market rate housing, and commercial spaces in urban communities. That's our target market. That's our target audience. Within that, we provide construction services where we do where we renovate some apartments for the larger scale projects, such as like 20 units or some other ground up projects. I don't build them myself anymore, but I hire construction crews, and I manage those crews. And those roles, I act as a construction manager. So on a larger project, MCI Construction, I operate as a construction manager, kind of managing it all because the portfolio is growing, and I'm hiring more people. I just don't have the time to kind of be down in the trenches. Mm-hmm. And then once the properties are built, it comes to MCI Property Management, where, we lease up the properties, we manage the properties, we have repairmen do the repairs, and we try to protect our assets so that the assets can be worth more, so that we can leverage that value to buy more and have a greater impact. And in regards to some of our notable projects, which Anthony, is the container home project located at 393 Halsey Street. Mm-hmm. I'm doing that in conjunction with some partners, CAPC, and another one of my other companies called Corten Concepts, where we're developing the first three-unit multifamily shipping container project in the state of New Jersey's history. That's something that has been very creative. We're working on for several years. We've broken ground. We're in the process of changing contractors. But, that project is something that I hold near and dear to me, and that, I'm looking to see to fruition within the next maybe 12 to 18 months. The next project, one of the more notable ones, was the one we just had a groundbreaking for this past Tuesday, the Loft at Avon, mm-hmm. Loft at Avon, where I built, me and my team, we built 2-3 family affordable housing properties where we provided 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms in each of the units. We were geared more towards families and targeting, moms, dads, families with multiple kids, because we wanted to give them a property that they can, be happy about, and give it to them at a rate where they can get something at our rate where it may cost more if they were, to go somewhere else. The next project we have is coming up. We just got approved by the planning board. Is a 20-unit building on my old block on Astor Street, 41-47 Astor Street. And this one is something that's very, very near and dear to me because I dedicated this project to my younger brother, Michael Morris, who's no longer here. And I was actually trying to get the development to be 26 units because he passed away at age 26. But we kind of settled at 20. And for me to be able to, to go back to my origins and have a direct impact, buy back the block and build something that's going to be there forever means a lot to me. I got other projects throughout, 60 units, another 60-unit development, 48-unit development throughout the city. So, I have a lot going on now, but those, 3 were kind of the ones that stuck out to me.
Yeah, I actually was at the ribbon cutting on Avon Avenue, and you talked about the 2-bedroom spaces for Black families. This is a prism that now Black Indigenous people of color might not understand. A reference to the spaces for Black families and this prism about understanding about this 2-bedroom concept. Can you kind of elaborate more about that?
You said the 2-bedroom concept or the 3-bedroom concept?
Well, the 3-bedroom concept. I said 2-bedroom, but the 3-bedroom concept. Can you kind of elaborate why that's important?
Oh, yeah, simple, yep. Growing up on Astor Street, a lot of people who grew up in like Section 8 housing like myself, we had to make the best of the situations that they afforded us, right? So whether that was, me, my mother, my pop standing in a 1-bedroom apartment, up until I probably was age 9, or it was me, my mother, my pop, and my 2 brothers. There's 5 of us standing in a 2-bedroom apartment. We always was used to making the best of whatever situation life may have given us, or the situation that the environment around us put us in. So when I got the opportunity to develop my own properties, you know, the 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom concept was something that, the 3-bedroom, 2-bedroom concept was something that, you know, I think that was very important because we actually needed the space, right? It's important for the kids to have their own bedrooms. It's important for families to be able to use multiple bathrooms, you know, at the same time. It just bodes well for a better quality of life, and it bodes well for a peace of mind and having the necessities you need to operate a family, you know, in today's environment.
Yeah, that's a prism that Black developers will understand. This is developing while Black in action. So I'm glad that I remember you were talking about that as you were having at the ribbon cutting. But, you know, I wanted to take you back. You mentioned partnerships. And I was just talking with Marjorie Perry from MZM Construction, and we talked about building capacity and being in the right rooms. How has MCI put itself in the right rooms?
So, you know, I would say that, you know, how can I put it? A lot of networking, right? Attending a lot of events, you know, where there were influential people in, you know, even before that, kind of starting at a ground level and getting very involved with some of the local clubs, some of the local organizations that the City of Newark has had. Hold on for 1 second, I'm sorry. Sorry, yep. That the City of Newark has actually had. You know, I've always made sure that, you know, I've told, you know, 1,000 people, you know, what I'm actually doing, what I would like to do. So, you know, yeah. You know, so the more my philosophy, my logic is that if I tell 1,000 people, you know, what I need to do, at some point or another, somebody's going to come back with an opportunity for myself to do something that I like to do. Mm-hmm. So in terms of getting in those rooms, it's grassroots. It's not rocket science. You don't have to know one key person. They're going to put you in the rooms with these people. It's just a lot of networking, attending a lot of functions where you don't get returns from, going to a lot of Christmas parties, a lot of networking events, a lot of joining a lot of organizations. So it's just basically just marketing on a grassroots level and telling everybody you possibly know and more about the things that you're doing. And what happens is that people are going to start referring you. You're going to start getting business as you perform and you do your work right. You're going to get referred more higher and higher up the food chain. And just once you get those opportunities, you know, you have to make sure that you deliver, and then your name will spread even more.
Yeah. Wow. That's similar to some of the things that Marjorie spoke about. You know, as a continuation about MCI construction and your property management, can you share some of the challenges and how you were able to overcome them?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. Any Black business or most Black businesses are gonna struggle in two key areas. One, that's capital. That means cash, money to actually operate your business, right? Or money to start up, you know, your business, or start a construction project, or have funds to start a management company or development company. And the second part is actually having the assets and enough assets so that banks can actually loan you money, either to get a small business loan or to get a loan to, you know, buy property, right? And so, you know, the fact that I was a civil engineer, you know, it always keeps my mind in the mindset of solving problems, right? So I just looked at me not having money, number one, you know, as meaning that I just have to find somebody who actually, you know, has money, right? Or somebody who has enough capital who has enough expendable capital who can actually invest in, you know, my vision and my dreams. So the first thing I did was a part of my networking, you know, I found somebody who was able to, you know, who was looking to invest in Newark, right? And this person said that, you know, if I was able to find opportunities, that they'll be able to put up the cash, and now all I would have to do is build them and manage them, and that's kind of how I got my start, right? The second part was that you have to find the assets to be able to get loans or, to get construction loans or to get real estate loans. The other piece with that, a part of my networking, I was also trying to find business, but I was also trying to find investors or people who shared the same vision or dream as me. I was able to find somebody with the assets to be able to put up. So when I did go apply for construction loans or apply for real estate loans, the banks saw that I had enough people behind me with a high balance sheet to be able to provide the loan for us because they would be able to recoup their money and their funds and stuff. So, just in business in general, you always got to be able to problem solve. And that's the one thing I would say with everybody. So the two issues are access to capital and access to assets.
Wow. Yeah. I was wondering if you would be able to share or talk about the difference between MCI from Ascension Partners. Can you kind of unpack that a little bit for us?
Absolutely, right? So I'm a real estate developer, right? So most real estate developers, they operate out of, multiple companies, right? You may hear, maybe just a brand name, it might be, just trying to think of a larger developer, but it may be, Lincoln Park, Coastal District, right? Mm-hmm. But you guys may operate your management piece out of a different management LLC, right? Mm-hmm. So when you think of Ascension, Ascension is one of my development companies, right? So where we target, distressed assets. MCI is the entity in which that operates the construction management piece and operates the property management piece within Ascension Capital. So that's kind of how it works and stuff.
Okay, so they work hand in hand together as you're completing projects.
Yeah, correct. Yep. So those exactly. So MCI acts as an agent, to Ascension. Although I own Ascension, I own half of Ascension as well too, but MCI is just the construction management agent and a property management agent of Ascension Capital. Within Ascension, myself and my partner, we both manage everything together. But for my roles and my responsibilities, they run underneath MCI Property Management.
Got you. Could you share your knowledge on capital? You're an expert also in that area around the capital.
Yes. Yeah, so in terms when you talk about capital, just want to get clarity. Are you talking about equity, like cash, to be able to get a loan to get to get a property, or are you just talking about capital in terms of getting funds to operate a business, like a working capital, what specifically, so I can just make sure I tell her the answer.
Well, basically, just understanding that there's a dearth of access to capital while developing while Black. Just talk about it just in general as a Black developer developing in our community and knowing that there's a lack of access to capital. You've been an expert to be able to maneuver through all of that to still get your projects moving and going.
Absolutely, right. So the one thing I would say, and I'm gonna be very frank, right? Sometimes as people who don't have, we have a lot of pride, right? And a lot of pride in the sense that we don't like to ask, right? But as a developer, I've come to know some of the most wealthy people. They ask for every single thing because in reality, when you look at the numbers, they actually probably really do need the help, right? So how I was able to navigate the resources of a lack of capital in terms of my business was everybody I met, every politician, mayor, council person, a developer, bank, I always was honest with them and I told them what I actually needed. A lot of times with businesses, we don't actually know exactly what we need. My advantage was that I knew exactly what I needed. If I started a construction project when I was coming up, I knew I needed about 15%, right, to start a project. So if it was $100,000, I knew that I needed $15,000. $10,000 would be the start. $5,000 would just be like a contingency so that I cover myself. Whether or not I got it, that's a different story, right? But a lot of times than not, I was able to find people who had the funds And the fact that I knew exactly what I needed actually helped, right? So the second part is that when it comes to, say development, right, you have to be creative, right? Any business owner knows that, like, the number one thing you have to do is be creative in how you source your capital, right? So now whether that's, you working with the municipality and kind of going on their website and seeing what funds they have available for different projects. It might be home funds. It might be some type of federal grant. It might be a HUD grant. It might be, something. It might be an affordable, low-income housing tax credit situation that you have with the state. I was able to kind of navigate and just literally read through, all of the long legislation to kind of see exactly what was offered to myself, right? And the one thing, too, is that I was never really scared to try to get capital or try to ask, right? For every time I received an investor who wanted to invest in my property, I received, 100 no's, right? Every time I received a program, whether it's from HUD or some type of funding from the state or from the city, it was, 35 other times where, I actually, didn't get anything, right? And you have to just stand. It's a numbers game. It's not rocket science. I'm not doing anything that nobody else can't do, but it's just more of me knowing exactly what I need and just researching and networking and letting as many people I know what I need so that I can actually get it. You got to put it out there to be able to get it in the universe.
Yeah, I appreciate you telling that story. I think about my own experience here at Lincoln Park Coast Cultural District.
Yep.
Some of it was a learned experience, but, having social capital and being able to have the relationships and the networking, some of the things you learn along the way, but it really helps to understand all of the different steps and processes and understanding that you may get a lot of no's before you get a yes, but being resilient and continuing to push through helps you. And people know that you're serious, because this development game is not just, oh, I want to be a developer and it happens. You have to be in it for the long haul. It takes a lot of passion and determination, because you want to see and you want to see the project through. And I know for me at Lincoln Park, I believe in this community, and this community of Black and brown folks. And as the city is shifting and changing, this community here that you're developing in also, and I think Astor Street is not too far away from the footprint of Lincoln Park. Almost going down near Elizabeth Avenue. Where's Astor Street at?
Yeah, yep. Yeah, no, I'm not that far at all. I'm literally from your office, probably maybe like 3-4 long blocks.
Yeah,
so I'm probably more like a maybe 10-12 minute walk away.
And when you talk to your grandmother, they used to call them the Down Neckers, but this area was called the Third Ward, and this is where all the Black folks settled at and stuff. So it's great to have folks like yourself and myself committed to making sure that we can come back to our communities and see them thrive again and repair this ecosystem. So I'm glad that we're having this conversation. I wanted to say this summer, in the middle of the pandemic, I can call it a pivot, but you actually launched a new business, the Moonlight Cinema Drive-In, yet another field where Black ownership is lacking. Why this industry, and how important is Black ownership of the channels of distribution of our content to you?
Wow, that's a phenomenal question, man. I might have to, I like that. He's doing some good hosting right now. All right, so first and foremost, I cannot take credit for starting the Newark Moonlight. It actually was but the concept, came from my wife. My wife, Siree Morris, she's a filmmaker, and she just completed a film about the mayor of Newark, Raz Baraka, and his family, his father, Mary and Amina, and his mother, Amina Baraka. It's called Why Is We Americans, right? And, right before COVID, obviously they was putting the film in different festivals and stuff, and COVID happened, and the world just shut down, right? And they film actually got accepted to one festival during COVID, and it was I think it was the Lighthouse Film Festival in Long Beach Island, New Jersey, right? And the cool thing about it was that it was actually a drive-in film festival. So that was the first time, I believe my wife even thought of an idea of having a drive-in. And so we went down there. They wanted I think they won like best film down there, and they treated us so nice. It was done very well. It had a huge turnout, and it was very successful. And then my wife kind of thinking, she had the idea of doing. She said, hey, listen, if they did it down here, why can't we do the same thing up in Newark, New Jersey? So I have to give kudos to my wife for being able to kind of come up with that idea. Mm-hmm. What I added to the plate was the manpower and the real estate knowledge about the Newark market and having the relationships so that we can actually get the land. I was able to do the site work for the land because the site that we got was the old Bear Stadium that just was recently demolished. Mm-hmm. So I had to utilize a lot of my crews to kind of get that situation all together because one thing I would say, if I could do it again, I don't know if I would probably do it at a demolished baseball stadium. Several acres is a lot. There's a lot of work with that. I kind of factor that into it, right? But yeah, so I got the concept with my wife. My wife and I, we promote black ownership, black enterprise, and black business. So if anything we was able to do, we definitely was going to make sure we have majority ownership, if not 100% ownership, like we do here. So the pivot kind of happened, out of a chance acceptance to a drive-in film festival, and we saw the opportunity, right? We saw that people were in the house. We were getting tired of being in the house all the weeks and months and stuff like that. Kids was getting on our nerve, and we wanted to give an outlet, for people like ourselves to get out the house and be able to do something that was socially distance responsible, and we could have fun too. So when we opened up, I'm not one that cry. I didn't actually cry the first night, but I did get emotional because, we had, over 300 cars on our first opening day. And the people came there, people were just immensely happy. They told us that we were doing God's work at a time when, the nation was pretty much, shut down. At that point when we opened, it started opening back up slowly, but a little bit. But, the drive-in represents, a marker for, black excellence and how resourceful we are and we can be as people if we just capitalize and utilize opportunities that we have when certain situations present themselves. So black ownership is everything. Anything we promote black people to do, we promote them to, have ownership and have as much equity as they can in the projects because we have to own everything in order for us to be able to make the change that we need.
Yeah, when I heard that you guys were, you and your wife were starting the drive-in, I was very excited because I remember as a kid going to the drive-in in Newark. I mean, people know it as the Iron Brown, but we call it Down Neck. And so we would go to the drive-in that was down there, and I was glad to see that it was happening again in the city of Newark, but it was a black-owned experience. That's awesome, and, kudos to you and your wife for being able to make that happen. And it's our hopes that after we come out of COVID, right, that it could be a continuum because, it was a way that families could come together at a reasonable price to still enjoy cinema.
Yeah, no, exactly. We share the same thing. That's that's why we didn't really charge too much. At the theater, adults is $12. Kids for the most part ages 12 to 4 is $8. 4 and under is free. Mm-hmm. So that's important for us to be able to price it accordingly so that we can make sure that we have it here long term because we think it's a good outlet. We think it's a good experience for families to have, and it puts Newark back in the right light as a place where you can come, have a family, live comfortably, but also have the entertainment venues that makes you want to stay here, live here, work here, and play here.
Well, now that I see that you guys have, you and your wife have really done a great job in doing that, I'm going to have to sit down and talk with you about how you could bring something of that sort down to Lincoln Park. So as we're rebuilding and reimagining Lincoln Park, how do we bring film to the park and getting people out to see our community and see the crown jewel Lincoln Park is?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I always, like anything you ask me, and the invitation is always accepted. So, we welcome that with open arms and look forward to kind of doing something collaborative and dope.
Thank you. So as we move through this, are there any tips, tools, mantras, or any executive development resources or recommendations for other Black people, people of color, women of color that are entering the world of commercial development that you may want to offer up?
Yes. Don't quit. Don't get discouraged, when you get your first 10 no's, right? You have to hang in there. Anytime you fail, well, the only time you fail is when you stop, right? And the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result, right? As business owners, we have to always be able to be nimble, we have to be flexible, and we have to be able to move at a drop of a dime. As being Black business owners, we have to work within our advantages, right? Right now, I may be in position, or we may be in position. We have, some capital, a decent amount of assets to do things, right? But coming up, we was always flexible. If there's an opportunity that we saw, or we needed to change our staff, or we needed to change our strategy, we were able to do that because we were small enough, right? So just always make sure that you don't quit, and that you remain flexible enough and not be rigid to the point, where you're not seeing the changes in the market or the changes in the economy or in the environment.
Mm-hmm. Great. Yeah. I'm a professor in my other life and always thinking about learning opportunities for young people. I'm a little older than you, so I'm going to call young lions like yourself in high school or early 20s or early 30s. It's about pathways out of poverty. It's about economic empowerment. This is in line with Lincoln Park's mission and vision. How would someone get in touch with you if they'd like to intern or apprentice with you? Do you have any entry-level positions at your various businesses?
Right now, I want to say no. I get this question a lot. Just with COVID, hold on for 1 second. I'm sorry. Just with COVID going on right now, we just kind of holding on to the capital, right? And we have some vacancies. We just hired somebody now, but I'm thinking maybe around the summertime, we'll be looking to bring on maybe some interns who would like to work in the industry of either real estate or maybe entertainment or one of the other various businesses we have. But right around the summertime, we'll probably have some vacancies, and I'll be looking forward to bring some college kids on, just some people in general want to get into the industry. But if you want to get in contact with me, I give people, my Instagram. I tell them to contact me, via Instagram. I used to give out my cell number, but it got immensely crazy. But
it does.
What I mean? But yeah, so I tell people to reach out to me on my Instagram. It's developers are us, DEVE. LOPERUS _ so you can reach me there. Reach out to me, either myself or one of my assistants. Kind of manage the account and respond to people. But we definitely looking to bring some interns on at some point next year.
Cool. Well, I want to just say thank you, Siree, my brother. This was so insightful, and please give your wife my regards. It was great seeing you both up there. You at the podium on Avon Avenue. It was awesome to see how through your tenacious effort and not giving up, to see the product at the end. So both of you keep up the great work, and look forward to more projects coming from your many companies. Take care.
All right. Thank you, man. And Anthony, I just wanted to say thanks for having me today. It's an honor, to be a part of your podcast. I don't know if a lot of people know you, man. You've been putting a lot of work in the community, in the real estate space as well. Lincoln Park annual festival and stuff is something that's almost, it might almost be world renowned right now, but it's much thanks, man, for being a community leader and just being kind of a dope person to kind of bounce some ideas off of, man. So just thank you so much. I wish you the best and good luck with the podcast.
Thank you. Talk to you soon. Man, that was a great interview with Siree Morris. He left us with 4 pearls that you could take to the bank. One, through development in areas outside of downtown, people, when you go into the neighborhoods, people can own, they can work, and they can have an impact in their own neighborhood. So it's not always about being downtown. It's about how do you buy back your block? How do you reinvest in your community to lift up your community? 2, if you tell 1,000 people what you want to do, sooner or later, one may answer the need. It's important to network as much as possible and do some grassroots marketing. You need to be your own PR person, and get out there because someone's going to hear, your voice. In that also, once they hear your voice, you need to be able to deliver because it's about your reputation and it's about once you get the opportunity, make sure that you do the best job so that word of mouth, that you'll get more opportunities. 3, be a problem solver. Being able to solve a problem and think of some solutions to problems that you solve. And 4, be nimble, be flexible, and move at the drop of the dime. In this changing environment, it's very important to be able to pivot and change right in the course of your path because we're living in such an ever-changing environment, and you have to be able to pivot and still sustain yourself, but stay the course. I want to thank my guest today, Marjorie Perry, founder, president, and CEO of MZM Construction, and Siree Morris, founder of MCI Construction and Property Management and co-founder of Ascension Partners and co-founder of Moonlight Cinemas. Here's a quote that's attributed to Harriet Tubman. Every great dream begins with the dreamer. Always remember, you have within you the strength, the patience, and the passion to reach for the stars to change the world. Stay home. COVID is still here. If you just must go out for essential work, supplies, medicine pickup, and food, mask up at all times. Thank you for listening to the Lincoln Park Sustainable Living Community Podcast. And I am your host, Anthony Smith, the Executive Director of Lincoln Park Coast Cultural District.
And that brings to a close this episode of the Lincoln Park Sustainable Living Community Podcast, the business and art of creative placemaking in the historic Lincoln Park community in the city of Newark, New Jersey. This podcast was created by Anthony Smith and Kim J. Ford for the Lincoln Park Coast Cultural District nonprofit. Executive producer and host, Anthony Smith. Senior producer, writer, and director, Kim J. Ford. Production coordinator, Catherine Lennox Hooker. Voiceover announcer, Anthony Ross Wiggins. Thank you to Season 1 sponsors, Verizon, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, United Airlines, Valley National Bank, Provident Bank, and the City of Newark Creative Catalyst Fund. Special thanks to Susan Austin and Moselle Baker of Lincoln Park Coast Cultural District and the Board of Trustees. And the team at Brand Marketing Group, LLC, official agency for Lincoln Park Coast Cultural District nonprofit. This podcast is proudly produced in the great city of Newark, New Jersey. Ross J. Baraka Bayer.